Oh, well, good morning and welcome to Intercultural Spark, the show about that spark inside each of you that drives you to spark change in your business and in the world. And today we are going to talk all about menopause. So when my guest today, when Adelle Martin's doctor told her that she had to choose between her high-powered career or managing her menopause, she was like, something is not right with this, and made it her mission to get to the bottom of what menopause is all about and then to help other high-powered women executives through their midlife careers. So if you are in that group, nobody will know, but we're glad that you've joined us to Intercultural Spark. Hi, Adele, how are you?
Fine, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And I would say good morning, but of course you're at the end of the day, 5 o'clock where you are in London. So thank you for joining us. You know, I got to tell you, so I've told your story since we spoke to my peers, and the first question everyone is so angry at your doctor. Like, they're like, is he a man? Like, can this be? And my question is, so tell us about what happened. And though, do you think it was because he was a man, or is there really just a huge lack of understanding about the significance of what it means for women to go through menopause?
Absolutely. So you're right. Once I got over the shock and I got over the anger, I actually stepped back and thought, actually, no, it's not his fault. In terms of the way that we, you know, having to work with GPs, he just didn't know. He was absolutely he just didn't know. And he just went with what he felt comfortable with. So it was just a difficult situation because I didn't know what was going on 10 years ago, let alone GP. So yeah, I did blame him as a man, but actually on reflection, it was just because he didn't have the knowledge that I needed so desperately at the time.
Well, and for you, it was perimenopause, which I got to tell you, so I had my son at 38. I thought I was going through perimenopause. So I was 3 months pregnant before I was like, maybe I should check. So for me, it was not perimenopause, but I do think, you know, we think of menopause as this kind of this single line with a before and after, but the perimenopause can be much longer, but a lot of the same symptoms.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. So just 10 years ago, when it was menopause only, so for me, it was something that was way out there that my granny might have had, and was stereotypical. And I was like, it's not me. It's not me.
Right. And then she stayed home completely after, right?
She stayed home, and she didn't have the opportunities that we were facing into. So if I look at even my mum, my mum was amazing, but she had a surgery, so she didn't have menopause either. So I was the first one to go through it. But not only was I going through it, I was also the first generation to have opportunities in a high-powered job. So I was breaking, and this is why when we talk about spark and change, I had my career curve that my mother and grandmother didn't have, but I was also facing into my change curve that they also didn't have. So I felt completely isolated, not only from the GP, but there was no one to talk to. And in terms of girlfriends, it was like, well, what's going on? So you're absolutely right. And it's only over the fact that I did take sort of 3 months off and have that discussion and talk to other women, because I was getting really curious, that then I stumbled across perimenopause, and that was as my aha moment. And then I realized that actually menopause is more around the fluctuation, but it's the steady decline that people didn't talk about that I realized was that. And then I could start going, I remember when I felt like that and things started to change. It was literally having a jigsaw, and nobody would give you the box with a picture on. I had to go away and piece it all together myself, which is what I'd spent 6 months, then got back to work. But more importantly, every day since then, I'm constantly coaching or researching how our body changes. So it's been a huge journey for me to understand.
Well, you said, and I do want to say for those watching live, please feel free to say hello because we don't know you're here unless you say hi, or ask questions in the comments. We welcome it. Through your research, and I was just reading, there was a research study. I don't know if that's connected. The fourth just produced their research study, but you said there were 40 changes, like that through your research, you could identify 40 consistent changes. What were some of those, and what were some that were more surprising for you?
Absolutely, yeah. There were 40 things. So when I was having a discussion, the ones that always get talked about, either as jokes, which is hot flushes,
totally, the little fans in the purse, yes,
and images and emojis and gifs,
yes.
or somebody's on stage. It's the humorous side of it, which is all of that. What I realised actually, that there are some more serious side effects and changes than that. So you have your topical ones, but for me, the one that I was starting to feel the most was my muscle loss, where I was losing muscle, including pelvic floor, including around my stomach area, bone density. I had a bone scan because I had some hip challenges. I had to have both hips reworked, and my surgeon said to me, "You've got early onset osteoporosis." And I thought to myself, it is more. So yes, I talked about hot flushes, but they're sort of the iceberg, which everybody talks about. The ones that women do not know about, hence why I share my story, is the ones underneath, which is the impact on your brain, on your muscles, on your bone density, on your heart health. And those are the ones that do not get as much airtime as the obvious ones. So when I do share the 40 things with women, and then we've got other ones, which is electric shocks, heart palpitation, tingly and restless legs. Women go, "Oh my God, I had terrible electric shocks." Honestly, my daughter wouldn't come near me because I would give it, or the car would get electric shocks. And palpitations, women go, "Oh my God, I did suffer with palpitations." So there's a whole new set of changes that when women go through my assessment, they go, "Do you know what? I've suffered with that for years and never connected it. I just thought," that's why I say it's not all hall flushes and mood swings. There's far more than changes to our body.
You are right, though. The hot flashes and the mood swings are just like, I mean, just endless jokes about that. Nobody really takes it seriously. I wonder with some of the things, because those can be pretty serious, like the heart palpitations, and I'm hoping you have a solution for the memory loss thing, which I hadn't associated with that with menopause. But we talk about menopause as something you go through, but what is it, hot flashes just end and you just stop having them. But what about some of these other things like heart palpitations or memory loss when you're at the other side of menopause? Do those just disappear? Are there permanent things that you feel because of menopause?
Yeah, absolutely. So I break it down into 3 sections. So there is the perimenopause, when things start to decline. Okay, and that's when the estrogen starts to withdraw from your body and you will start to feel changes. You might feel more anxious because of the impact on the brain. And then when we get to menopause, which is actually only a point in time, not as nice as Cinderella. So when the clock strikes 12, which is 12 months after your last period, you're menopausal, then you go straight into post-menopausal. So yes, your hot flashes will start to get further and further apart. But this is the but where it's educating women. Your bone density will continue to reduce. Your muscle mass will continue to reduce if you don't do anything about it. Also, your brain health. The wonderful things of MRI scans, which you didn't have 30 years ago, they can look at a post-menopausal brain versus a perimenopausal brain, and it's quite stark, the difference. So that was where I spent a lot of my time going, actually menopause is just a point in time, and hot flashes, at the time they were irritating, but I got more worried about the other long-term effects. So that was where I really focused my attention to make sure that I continue to look after myself.
So it's easy. I know I saw that you're into fitness. I'm actually a certified fitness instructor as well. In fact, got certified in body pump, which is a weightlifting workout after menopause. So that one seems easy. You can just work out forever. What are some of the things, though, particularly on brain changes, that people can do? Is there something almost like a physical workout before your brain?
Absolutely. So the bottom, so when I look at the butterfly, the bottom left is body, and then above that in the top left is the mind. And the way that I focus that down, I'll call it the 3 C's. It's calm, and then clarity and confidence. And calm, I underestimated the impact of stress, cortisol, and adrenaline on our body post-menopause. So what cortisol will do, if we've got really heightened stress, it will really impact our brain fog, and chronic inflammation. So the most important thing we have to do in terms of our mindset is make sure we focus on calm. And I know that is easier said than done, but I talk to my clients, we need stress to grow our bodies and our brain, but not stress. There's tension versus stress. So I'm all about tension for growth. So with mind, I realized that what was making my brain fog a lot worse was the stress that I was under, driven by cortisol, and also the amount of just sugar in my diet. And I was caught in a vicious circle, which was my ultimate fallout. So it's having that calm element, and what I do with my routine and clients is build that element of calm to sit for 10 minutes and shut off. You know, whatever that calm is for you, if it's walking, if it's meditation. Do you know what? Just like your phone, just swipe the tabs and focus on calm. So we do a lot around that just to release those levels. And then in terms of clarity, what I do and work with my clients is I've got a wonderful planner that we work on, because there's nothing more powerful than pen to paper. So, and I call them the butterflies. So when they're flying around, we have to get hold of our butterfly and put them down safely. So I might do some Post-it notes and put it down. Where some clients go, oh my God, but that's admitting defeat. I went, no, you've got to be smart and sassy. Smart and sassy.
Love being sassy.
We take those and I write it down in a planner. And then what I will do is stop under that clarity, but I'm very clear on my goals. And when, say for instance, the brain fog, I just get hold of the plan. What was the plan for a day today, Adele? It's still there. Just get on with it.
Just kind of staying centered. So we actually have 2 questions coming in. I'm going to do Brianna's first. Brianna, actually, we've got 3. Oh, I knew this would be a hot topic because nobody talked about it. I don't know if it's cultural, because I know you're in the UK, but in the US, we do not talk about it other than the hot flash and the crazy emotions jokes about it. So, but Brianna wonders, I love it. Brianna, who is way pre anything, wants to know, we have to warn people about this stuff. I think people know menopause is coming, but is there anything as far as the effects on the brain? Are there practices that people should be doing all the time to maybe help with the transition?
Absolutely. I have a 23-year-old daughter that is already prepared. Okay. Because in actual fact, and this is the interesting research, if I look at her like 2 weeks before her period, she can get emotional. Because what it is the progesterone and estrogen are basically doing exactly what it does in menopause, but we have to go through PMT much, much longer. So when I talk to my daughter around it, and I say to her, first of all, we have to exercise to get our systems moving. We have 11. And the second one is we have to be very careful about what we eat. So if we've got added sugars, for instance, it will cause a spike and then a peak and a trough in our blood sugar levels. And do you know what? Everyone talks about that, oh, we need to manage that fashionably. But when you're managing hormones, whether you're 23, 33, 44, the impact of sugar on those hormones is quite stark.
So it sounds like you're saying sugar is like just don't be careful
of it, absolutely, during that time. And then also it's exactly the same as your body. If you don't use it, you lose it. So use brain and learn a language, and do something that scares you. Really grow that brain.
Oh, to kind of get your brain going. But actually, I have to laugh. So you said PMG. I'm assuming that's like PMS in the US. Yes. And so basically what you're saying is when you're experiencing PMS, which is pretty much when all you want to do is sit and eat chocolate, you're saying that's actually the worst time to sit and eat chocolate. All right, ladies, you've been warned. So.
Yeah.
Well, so Kara says, so how much are those symptoms post-menopause related to just the aging process versus hormonal changes?
Absolutely. Really good question. So I've been looking at studies between male and female, because both male and age. But females, when estrogen starts to decline, we age by 30% more.
You said 32% more?
30% more.
Oh, 13. Okay. Oof.
No, 30.
Oh, 30, it is 30.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
yeah. So in terms of muscle and decline. So my wonderful mum is 75. And she still trains and looks after herself and builds her strength, her brain. She's working, she's volunteering. So no, we cannot slow down that aging process, but we have to look after that body. So yes, it is aging, but when estrogen declines, the rate between men and women changes significantly. So I work very hard with my mum and her friends as well to look after themselves. Because when you look at fractures, it's 1 in 2 for women and 1 in 5 for men. And
really? Oh, wow. So basically what you're saying is women do actually age. Is it faster? Is that the right word than men because of the changes in our hormones? Yay.
That's why we have to do what we can to look after it.
Yeah. So Alex asked, I had a hysterectomy done at the beginning of the year. Also my tunes as well. I'm experiencing hot flashes, mood changes. I'm more sensitive. I feel the tingling. It's weird. I just came across you. So actually, Alex, that's fantastic that you found this. And I'm glad that you connected and basically, well, talk about, so Alex has connected. I do want to point out that Kara says it's just mean that women age more than men. Yes, it is. So actually, Alex leads to what I do want to ask you more about. So you were a high-powered executive. You started having perimenopause. Your doctor's like, yeah, if you want to care for yourself, you gotta leave. So you said, I'm going to research it. So now you run a club and you help other midlife executives. I'm curious too about, so midlife, I do this, sorry, it's one of my rambling questions that eventually will come to a point. Because of the pandemic and because of the economy, we are all going to be working until we're 100. So in the olden days, we might be able to be retired by now. We wouldn't even be thinking about this. So you're doing midlife, which is an issue for all genders. What do you do, or what is different for midlife women in careers that needs this special focus?
So it's 50-50. So first of all, it is our hormonal changes. So they do trigger the way our body changes.
And Kara does ask, do you recommend hormonal supplements? So if you can just think of that as you're talking about the hormonal changes.
So that's the first thing we face into, that we're in those hormonal changes. And also, which is the change curve. But also, then there's the career curve. So women like myself are the sandwich generation, where we are got a high power career, but we've also got aging parents. Some of my clients decided to have children later in life. So I've got some clients with teenagers and themselves through menopause, which is a challenge. And, you know, they want to work longer. So you've not only got hormone changes, you've got society changes as well. And this is what happens to me. I've been given, you know, for the likes of women that went before us, we now have amazing opportunities to make a difference. What somebody didn't warn me of is how my body changes. So there's two elements. So how I coach the women is I explain to them how their body changes, and then work with the woman to say, right, so this is how you now need to eat, sleep, drink, think and move, so you can manage that transition and still be relatively, you know, high performing in the boardroom, because you do have to do things differently. And I just share that knowledge and skill and coaching to do that.
That is fascinating, because I feel like it feels like that's something new in terms of awareness of this, because certainly even just a few years ago, again, menopause was something you just didn't talk about. Like you wouldn't, it would, or honestly, I feel like, maybe this is me, I should lie on my couch, that if people know that you're going through menopause, it feels like it's considered a weakness, that people look at you differently, or, you know, are not as much of a woman. You are a gorgeous, vibrant woman. There's a lot of gorgeous, vibrant women post 50. How do you think that stereotype plays? There's a stereotype related to it.
And you're absolutely right. And one of my missions, and it was so funny, I left my career only in January, and then I had the pleasure of being in New York, and I went to Oprah's conference with Michelle Obama, and I stood up there and I thought, you know, they are the women that that is role modeling what it is actually like. You have to break the stereotype. So the way that I manage and lead my women and the way we talk is we have to break that stereotype. And what I say is I have to be the change I want to see. So within my peers, and there is a place, and we do talk about the we're having a bad day and it hurts, and we do that in a safe space. But do you know what we do? We don't. It's how we respond to that. And we go, do you know what? Yes, it is a tough day, but we're not going to play out to our stereotype, and we're going to make a difference. So, but if I don't share my story and show that it's okay, then I can't expect that change. So that's why I decided to leave in January, and then inspired in February. If I don't share my story. You
left your career, but then to actually focus 100% on being a midlife coach. Okay.
Because I did it in my career. So I did it in London, in the city, working with other women, plus working in human resources. And then I was 50 in 2020, and obviously I didn't know what was going to come forth in 2020. So I decided
surprise.
My 50th birthday and my gift, and my family had got to the position where I could, you know what, I wanted to put I was fed up with moaning about changes in this industry. I thought, you know what, Adele, do it, be brave. And that's what I say to my women. So that's what I did in January. And then from February, my world, I've just focused on driving this forward and break that stereotype and say, do you know what, we can manage our change curve on most days, and we can still stay in business. And I coach women that perhaps haven't got the best workplace. I coach them on managing their family. I coach them on managing their mums. It's surprising how much, because some clients their mums go, well, I got over it. Can't you? Why is there's a real dynamic that these women are facing in talking about it. So it's a real interesting one. Working with clients is not only their workplace they're managing their mothers and their mother-in-laws as well.
You know, it sounds like it's so many things that are so natural. Each one in isolation would be overwhelming, whether it's an ailing parent or a teenager or a career. These are all big things. And it just sounds like menopause is the overlay, but really it's also just this time of life. This is the rites of passage at this time. So a couple things. So Brianna says, and women age 30% faster, just to add, oh, yes, you caught that, just to add the great things we go through as women. Alex just turned 41, so this is overwhelming. But at least, Alex, you're not alone. Like we're all going to go through this. Hopefully. I mean, that's actually the joy. Let's put it that way. Let's hope we all go through it, because that's the joy of growing and becoming a mature woman, right? So here's a random question from Brianna. What do you think employers can do to support women going through these changes? And is it ever our responsibility? Oh, well, you should talk about this, because you took it as your responsibility to educate everyone. So, and how could we normalize menopause? You actually, because of your experience, I recall you've even been quoted like on news media, like you did take it as your responsibility to educate people. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I left. So when I had my breakdown, I was in finance. And when I went back into HR, into human resources to make the difference, because we had policies for women going through paternity and maternity leave, but we didn't really have much on menopause in the workplace. So I was able to support my workplace, develop guides for managers and how to help and support those, and also help women have the confidence to talk to their line managers as well. So it's really story two halves. And then I created menopause cafes and groups where women could come and talk about it. So for instance, some of the women had a uniform that was made of nylon. It was so we had it swapped out for cotton. So there were all these things. So we had policies in the workplace, and we had coaching for women. And I ran both of those groups, and I ran them for a while, and it was amazing.
God, who would even think about that? Of course, nylon, you can't breathe. So if you're going down a hot flash, like you are never recovering if you're wearing nylon. That's really, who would even think about that level of detail? That's fantastic.
And different levels, and we also put in, say, like if a woman struggled in the morning, I started to suffer with morning sickness again. So my morning was terrible. So I would start later. So we worked with women to negotiate different working patterns and, you know, to help educate. So it was across line managers, and then also with women's. But even in the UK now, there's variations. I still talk to women that are struggling with menopause in the workplace, and there are other places that are better. So it's just work in progress. But I also, you know, help and coach women even to a script, because some women still struggle even to go to see their GPs. So I help them with a script for their general practitioner, and then scripts for also their line managers as well. So there's a real
do you have scripts for women and their husbands?
Yes,
I mean, I feel like that, like, talk about that, because that feels like, oh God, it's so funny because I'm going to say the word sexuality on public television, right? But, you know, there is that whole thing of like, you know, being a woman and sexuality, and it feels like society says, well, after menopause, you're just not sexy anymore. But clearly women are. So how so what would women talk to their husbands about?
So again, I've got some clients. I've got one client who's got a husband and 4 boys. So she felt really uncomfortable. So what she did with her husband is just explained, I've got so some of the handouts and the worksheets they took and talked to their husbands and worked through it. And then also on one of the coaching calls, the husband joined as well. So we were like working through it, and so that's been really interesting. So, and then the women are explaining to their family what they're going through, and then they went, "Oh, Mum, it's not you. No, it's not. You've got to reframe it." So that's really, really worked in having that conversation. And some of my clients, because we are talking about some strength training, and talk about, you know, getting back, and one of my clients said yesterday, my husband said I've got nice sexy shoulders. I said yes, because we're building that strength, and yes, there is the real reason, because we don't want osteoporosis. And he said to me, and you've got a nice, you know, nice glutes, and you know, your bum is full. And one woman was a teacher, and she came back, and she went back to school after the summer and said, Miss, where have those legs come from? And it's interesting by building that confidence. So it sort of works, because what happens is, because the decline can be so slow, women, you don't realise, and then one day, like me, you wake up and go, I can't do this anymore. Right.
It is right. It's not like overnight where your hair stands up on end. You're like, oh, it happened. You're not even always, that's what's so interesting, Adele. You're not always even sure that it's happening, because then in the time that you're going through menopause, you may also be going through so many other illnesses, or who knows, you know, what else. So
absolutely.
Are those worksheets something that you have on your website? I never heard of menopause worksheets.
So when I'm working with my clients and in the club, so when women join for coaching, then the top right hand butterflies, the bottom is body, then we have mind, then the top right hand is all about relationships, and the first one is me, the one with yourself, that fundamental changes. And we do a lot of work of understanding how women have to accept it. And then the one under that is we, which is family, and how you engage and share your story with your family. And then the last one under the relationship is these, your wider stakeholders. You could be leading teams, so you could be going through the menopause, and people in your team are, or you need to talk to your boss or your clients or your customers. So when you actually put the woman at the center and look at all of the different people in her life, they all need to really understand what she's going through. But if we give her the confidence, then she can start to have those conversations, to where I did. And then what happens is you start to build allies. So at work, if I was having a moment, my team would go, do you want to go for a walk? Yeah, okay, I do. And my daughter would bring me my trainers. There you go, Mum. Rather than going, oh, Mum, you're being all moody again. She goes, Mum, you're all right. Do you need this? And do you know, my daughter and me so much closer together, and another client has brought her and her son much closer together, and they train together in the gym. So it's about but we can't have those conversations until we've reconciled the conversation with ourselves.
Right. So Alex says, I'm trying to lose some pounds, especially around my abdomen. It's hard. I'm not an expert, but I feel like since I had my hysterectomy, my abdomen doesn't look the same. What can I do to make it look firm? So that's that whole issue of, you know, people will say, oh, it's just calories in, calories out, but it is not calories in, calories out after menopause.
It absolutely isn't. So that was exactly my challenge. So everything I'd done up until my menopause worked, then overnight everything stopped working, and I was absolutely perplexed. So what I found out through my research and myself is that when estrogen declines and we lose muscle mass, which is our burning calories. So if, for instance, at 39 we had enough muscle in our body to burn, say, 1,500 calories, for example.
Oh, but you don't have as much muscle.
Yeah, and I said 1,500. Why, when I haven't changed the amount I've eaten, am I putting it away? Because first of all, you got less muscle, so you don't need as many calories. And the second one is estrogen, when it's in our body, is focused on childbearing. So our fat will generally sit around our thighs and our buttocks. When we're not needed for children, and also just to share, I have clients that have hysterectomies. I've also got clients recovering from breast cancer. So how you get to menopause is irrelevant. The solution is the same. So, and again, so the women, so the fat will sit around the midriff. Okay. And if we've got high levels of sugar and stress, it will add further to the sugar belly. So there's that mechanical element of it. We have less body calories. Now, the biggest thing that I realize, which is the irony, the one that really makes the magic happen, is when we sleep. But the irony is, if we've got sleepless nights, then we end up in this vicious circle. So that element, so I work a lot with sleep and how we sleep with clients. And the first thing I do is under my 4 S's, is strength training, and we need to put that muscle back on, yes, to help with our overall calorie burn and our structure. And then that way, by doing that strength training in a clever way, we are really doing interval training, but we're not putting stress on our body. Because I was running marathons and still putting on weight, and the reason why was because I was so stressed. My body was too stressful, so I don't go anywhere near levels of running like I used to do, and I wasn't sleeping. And as soon as I moved from marathon running just down to 3.5 miles, 5K walks, and spent longer strength training, I completely changed my body shape. And protein, oh my God, the amount of women, when I meet them and look at the lack of protein in their diet, we need it more ever. And I keep saying to women, it's not just for bodybuilders. And I had a bit of a masterclass on Monday night, and they said, oh, well, I've been told that we look like bodybuilders. I said, trust me, I eat lots of protein, I train really hard, and I don't, but you need protein for building blocks, for everything in our body, and strength training. So, and that way, if we focus on that element of it, our midriff will sort itself out. Because I say to clients, I can give you 1,000 sit-ups or crunches, it won't change the midriff. We have to build muscle, we have to make sure that we do power walk and step, but we don't stress out. We need to make sure we have protein with every meal, and we do need to focus on our sleep, and it's those elements, and try to take out the sugar. So I talk about the 4 S's, which is strength training, steps, stretching, and shimmy, because we like to have a dance to a little bit of a dance track.
Absolutely.
4 S's of how I keep my body shape. But there are 4 S's that undermine the whole lot. And the first one is stress. It will paralyze your body and you won't grow or change. The second one is sugar, and if we've got too much sugar in our body. The other one is lack of sleep. And then the last one is sedentary, if we don't do our steps. And that is what will impact a menopausal woman the most. When all of that fell into place, my whole body shape. But do you know what? Do you know what I could think clearly. That, which is the top left, is my mind. Once I resolved my body, I could think clearly.
Oh, is that right? So then your thoughts came clear. Well, and it sounds like, and we're running low on time. So if anyone has any other questions, now's the time to do it. But what's interesting, when you're saying that you did all these things, I put it up there: stress, sugar, sleep, sedentary, or don't be sedentary. So you confided, which I'm sorry, you could have dressed like that. I would have had champagne with you, by the way. So Adele confided that as soon as we're done, she has to put on a sparkly shirt and get a glass of champagne because of, I love it. She was like, I have so many award ceremonies this week because a lot of her clients who are women in midlife are doing these amazing, innovative things. Is there any, some of it may be comfortable, but can you share any of that? Because we all go through this. I don't know who we is in this. We're all sort of embarrassed of it. And now here's women who clearly are high-powered, award-winning, that are saying, no, I'm going to take it head on. So what are some of the clients? This is fantastic that women are doing this.
Absolutely. I got a client that has recently completely retrained to become a certified professional life coach. So she's doing absolutely amazing. I've got corporate women that have just been promoted into the boardroom. So they are doing amazing things as well. I've got women that are setting up a second business with digital, and helping people, which they've done sort of through COVID, and also women that is creating the membership option that I'm working through. So, you know, and I've got, all of my clients have really leveraged and used this as an opportunity. And the feedback I get is, menopause can be fun. It can be. Once we lean into it.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly, we have such fun because the power is in the knowledge. And I was reflecting on this today before coming on. Once we have the knowledge, we have the power. And then we can choose to, we can choose to worry about the 30%, but I can assure you, I can definitely bench press as much as some of them in the gym now,
That's
so
fantastic.
It's not a barrier, it's an opportunity. But we need to have the knowledge and the right tools and have some fun.
I love it. So menopause can be fun. And I think Kara's saying, it sounds like you recommend lifestyle changes versus any medical interventions to address the menopausal system.
Yeah. The way I work with clients is we start off with lifestyle first. And if there are some if after all of that, there are still some dangerous symptoms, then I would be the first to take them and talk to doctors and practitioners and healthcare providers. But even if you do go, it's not magic. Even if you have replacement and hormone treatments, you have to have the lifestyle first. You can't have both. So it's important you focus on that first.
You have to remember that menopause can be fun. So Adele, this is, speaking of, actually certainly talking about menopause for the last half hour or so has been I don't think I've ever laughed this much fun when I wasn't laughing at somebody about menopause. So but what do you think? So we talk about, again, with intercultural spark, it's that spark inside. What I love is it's like everyday people that has this spark that is really driving change in their business and the world. What do you think your spark is that drives what you do?
It is keeping women in business. So it's coaching and sharing that knowledge. And for me, I've got to be the change I want to see. And that's what keeps me. And that's why I get out of bed in the morning.
Thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to end our broadcast, but stay right here. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. If you have other questions, put them in the comments. We'll make sure Adele gets them. And of course, visit her website and find out more about her groups and her coaching, so that you can realize that menopause is fun. Adele, thank you so much. What a delight to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you.